Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Gibson Show. It's post SI, and I am joined with the one and only Hap. Hap, what's happening?
I knew that was going to be a pun somewhere, but I'm just relaxed for now. Going to be traveling out soon to the studio in Paris to go for the new Europe League. So it's going to be very exciting.
I'm excited. We're in the new era of Siege. It's a strange one. The stages which used to be, as you said, 7, 8, 9 weeks have now been condensed into 4 really intense ones where really teams don't have a lot of time to fix problems. But the question I have for you is talent at the highest level and someone who works in the studio a lot. Does that work more for you in like a work-life balance thing where it is a little bit shorter and frees up more time, or do you miss being out in the studio for 7 weeks and annoying Ace and Dez as much as you could?
I have to see how it like really feels when I get there and then go back home at the end of the week, because as you mentioned, like before we were 7 weeks straight in the studio and broadcast days were Monday evening and Wednesday morning, so there was some pattern there. But I have to say, like, personal life, it was a bit more difficult because you're away from home that much. So that is definitely going to be something that will be helpful throughout this stage, is that we get to go home a bit more to friends, family, significant others, etc. But yeah, I haven't really like experienced yet how it's really going to be in terms of work balance. I definitely think I will be missing Ace and Des around, because it is a bit more of a thin crew that is active in Paris at the time.
And there's another person missing from Europe that I think a lot of people are going to miss too. And it's Easy. Easy's kind of one of those people who's the life of the party. Another person from your part of the world, coming from that Benelux background. He's going to be a big miss too, of course, isn't he? I know Red likes a really good observer, but Easy's a big personality to replace.
You know, all the observers have nicknames, right? At least the European observers. Are you aware of the nicknames?
No. Please tell us.
So we have Medics is the Croatian sensation. Red Like is the Italian stallion, and Easy is the Dutch disappointment. So, but either way, it's going to be different having Stefan not there. He's at the Copenhagen studio for NA now, of course. Especially because ever since I started Benelux, like the first couple of seasons I had to observe myself, but afterwards we had Stefan out there. So basically for the last 4 or 5 years now, we've been working together on broadcast. So it's definitely a change having him not there.
It'll be a change, but I think his work speaks for itself too, and he's going to smash it in NAL. It's weird having, I think, Medics and Easy split up. It's probably the first time for them, and that they've worked apart as well. But it's opened up new doors. Schreichel's getting the opportunity coming up from Tier 2 to learn and work with Easy, and Red Like, I think, probably getting the opportunity that maybe he feels that he's deserved for a long time as well, having worked a lot of events in Europe. So it's going to be fun, and it is going to be an exciting few weeks ahead. But Hap, let's rewind. Let's go back to the good old days. And these interviews are all about learning about people's careers and learning about them. I've looked. Your Wikipedia goes all the way back to 2018, right? 2018.
It does. Is that still as a player, or is that actually... I have to check myself now.
As a caster.
As a caster, okay.
We have you down for the Party 16 D-tier event way back in March 2018. Why don't you tell us how you got into casting?
It's not actually even my first event that was. But yeah, no, I started off as a player first in Benelux. I wasn't very successful, I have to say. I got second place, third place all the time, never won. And at some point, my team kind of fell apart for the third time. To pick everything back up, and Milan, or mainstream Milan back then, he works for Red Bull now, was working for Ubisoft Benelux for a while. It's like, hey, we need someone to cast the Benelux PlayStation 4 monthly finals. Like, does someone want to do it? So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, right? Have never casted before, but I was like, you know what, I'll come and cast the PlayStation League. So I went out there. I didn't have any nice clothes, so I was just wearing my team jersey, as one does, even though I was like a Benelux player at that point. Casted a PlayStation 4 league. I think it was really bad. But Milan, who at that moment was the esports manager, was the other caster normally, but he couldn't do it. That's why he needed a replacement. He's like, "You're better than me, so if you want to, you have the job." And I was like, "All right, time to transition into becoming a caster, I guess." And yeah, that's what happened. And then the first event I did was the party, which gave me the. I mean, you've worked LANs. What would you say if I say LAN event like that? Like, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
As in
in terms of
your
broadcast?
opening LAN events, right?
No, just like the grassroots LAN events. Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Like,
Handheld
just thinking
mics.
about that.
My first
Oh no,
cast,
I didn't have handheld mics.
my first ever cast at a LAN, a grassroots LAN,
Yeah.
was with a handheld mic.
Okay.
Where the players could hear every single word that we said.
Oh.
So we in Whippet would be like, "Oh, and there's a player sneaking up red stairs," and you would just see the player going, "Whoop!"
And then walk around. Let's go.
We
Yeah,
go check red stairs, and it was an experience, Hap, to say the least. But I think long hours. Anyone that I know that have worked at other LAN events, grassroots,
Yes.
long hours at those events.
So we did one game, and then we had a 7-hour technical break. That's what happened.
7 hours.
Yes, me and Toldersma were sitting there. I don't know what exactly broke. It was something with PCs, and they just couldn't get it fixed. So for 7 hours, we just sat there on the desk, and we leaned back, and that's how we got to know each other, because that was our first time working together. So yeah, like that was it. 7 hours of just waiting, and then we casted the grand final, and the day was done. So we did 2 games in total. Wonderful experience. When I first tried to get in, they couldn't find me on the list, so I had to call Ubisoft. Like, they don't know me. It's like they don't have me on the list. Like, how do I get in? Because we started in a bit. And yeah, they fixed it at that point. But that was that was my first experience on like being a paid commentator. So wonderful experience.
And how long out of that 7 hours, how much fill did you actually have to do before they were like, right?
Not much.
Really?
I think we did like 30 minutes fill, and then we just went to a timer until we actually were able to get started again. And every now and then we just pop up like, "Hello, we still don't have anything, so goodbye. We'll be back in an hour or something." And yeah, so it wasn't too bad in terms of filling. I never had to fill for like an hour or something, so I'm lucky with that regard. But yeah, I definitely had to wait long hours during that first event.
The longest fill I've ever had to do, I think, was 45 minutes. And
okay, yeah,
we didn't know one of the teams. So Whippet kept throwing me under the bus, going, "So, this player on this team, tell me about them." I was like, Don't you dare. Don't you dare. We had no stats. We had no stats on the team. Yeah. We had no nothing. It was just, this is a show match and this is the team that's playing.
I mean, those events you'll have, right, where you come into, like, for example, I don't know any of the players, or not a lot of the players when I go to like a local LAN party, like the Party 16. It's like, people that sign up on the spot there. It's like, I don't know who they are. It's like they're just people that came there to have a good time. I'm like, oh, Rainbow Six tournament, let's sign up. We have that game, and that's kind of what happened. So if I had to fill, it wasn't going to be successful. That's for sure.
Well, you've obviously done something right. You've made it all the way to the top of your craft. So moving on then, Hap, you said you worked the PS4 monthlies for Benelux. Your career kind of progressed over time. You got more involved with the Benelux scene. And eventually that led to kind of covering the PC work of Benelux, the Tier 3 league at that point. Was there any nerves making that jump to Tier 3 at the time? Because I know a lot of people find that jump probably more difficult than some of most, going from grassroots or monthly console onto national Tier 3 experience.
Yeah.
How was that jump for you?
So basically the monthly piece forecasted, it was just one at that point, but that's kind of the structure we had. So also for PC, we had monthlies that went into championships. So like the 3 best teams of the month, according with some other teams, will qualify themselves. So I think it was like the top 2 every month. That would be a quarterly final. The PlayStation had the same thing, but after I did that one, the PlayStation one, that was the last quarterly final we had. And we changed to the Benelux League at that point. There was still going to be like some PlayStation tournaments. I didn't actually work those. Those were not being broadcasted or by community broadcasters. But we instantly basically went to the National League, and if I remember correctly, we were one of the first to do that. In terms of like an official studio broadcast and all that kind of stuff. So the nerves weren't actually there really. We instantly went to English, which I think helped me a lot because I never had to start up being a Dutch broadcaster, which definitely helped me. I think there's definitely a big change you can hear if you go back to those broadcasts and my English at that point compared to it now. It's improved a lot. But the nerves weren't actually that bad because I just spent 7 hours talking to Toldersma with the party. We get to know each other there, and afterwards we basically did every single day of the Benelux League together until I moved on to the European League. So we've always been close friends. He's kind of been my mentor as well, taught me a lot about casting and all that stuff. So yeah, the nerves. Talking about that, not really there as much. It's some excitement, but it's not really like, oh, I really shouldn't be messing up or something like that, because like everybody will make mistakes at some point, and you just try and recognize them and improve on them as you go.
And that's actually a nice segue, because you spoke about until you moved into the Europe and you started doing Challenger League. We had a chat before this interview, and you were telling me about, taking opportunities as a caster whenever they come up. And Challenger League, historically, the early stages have always been kind of community casts, a great place for new talent and people who've never maybe worked nationals to work with really good teams, really good Challenger League teams. But back then, there was no real plan to ever have a paid cast for Challenger League, never mind have it done out of a studio. This is where you came in. So I think a lot of the foundations, for where Challenger League is now from a broadcast standpoint, kind of set by you and a couple of the guys in BNL.
Yeah, so what happened there is, of course, we had the Trust Gaming team who qualified for the Challenger League. I think that was that was with Deepak at that point as well, I believe. But it was going to be community casted at that point, and it's a bit of a shame, and Benelux has always been about building heroes, like building stories, because that was the goal that Milan, the esports manager at that point, had set up to try and get people to tier 1. That was his goal, right? Whether that be caster or whether that be player, that just the goal. So I realized it was going to be community cast, and at that moment he was in Paris at HQ, like the rest of the Benelux office and the French office and the German office. Like everybody was just there. It's like a Ubisoft meeting it was. And I was like, can you just go over to the esports director or manager? I don't know what the role is at that point. It's like, I just know there's someone in charge of esports. Can you just go to him and ask hey, is it okay if we pick up the Challenger League broadcasts? Because we have a Dutch team in there. We would like to follow them, see how they do. Maybe they will make European League. It's just so much better for the story writing. And Milan at that point thought it was a good idea. So he went over and he asked, and we got permission to do it. And at that point, there needed to be a second channel to do it. And I'm not quite sure if it was UK being working on that at the same time, trying to get broadcast rights as well, or if they came in right afterwards. But they basically were like, yeah, we can also do a broadcast officially. And then we have 2 official English broadcasts with Challenger League. And that means every game gets followed. So that happened, and then me and Toldersma, we worked on the Benelux stream for the majority of that season, and well, a lot of the casters you now see on the European League as well did that for the UK side of things. So a lot of us actually got up there. Yeah,
I think it's really nice because there is a segue, to the top. Like in this esport, you've got the tiers, you can work your way up through them as a caster. You spent your 2 stints on Challenger League. I think you did season 9 and season 10, I think, of those.
I think we did 11 as well.
Yep.
And then we did the first one where it was called EUCL instead of with the season number behind it.
And then,
so 4 seasons. Yeah.
And then you got your jump to the top.
Yeah.
You moved to A tier. You started working a lot, EUL. I think you've worked obviously a lot of work in the Asia region as well. Then you'd reach the top, technically the top tier 1, which is what a lot of people want to get to, where a lot of people want to go.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel at that point making it to that level? Because you had worked your way up through, you'd earned your right to be there. Was there nerves making the jump to tier 1? Like, to you, did that feel any different? Or was it a case of, I've got rewarded, I've put in the hard work, and I'm finally here?
So the moment the original offer came in, there was a lot of uncertainty on, like, because the split came through. Europe and NA got split up into the two separate broadcast studios now, with two separate groups of talent. At the moment, I was a esports intern at Ubisoft Benelux, so I was working on innovating the Benelux League and trying to get it to improve on itself, change the production partner from ESL to what then was named Meta. I was trying to help in that whole process. And during that time, I was also in close contact with the esports manager from the Ubisoft HQ, of course. And after I had been given the opportunity to cast the Allied minor open qualifiers with Sternab and Emmy, we also got the opportunity to then in December later work the OJ Pit minor, which is where Ubisoft saw what I did and liked it a lot, and basically reached out to me. He's like, hey, like, it's not certain yet, but we might want to get you, like, on the broadcast in Paris. Like, if you'd be interested, like, just trying to find out if you are. It's like, yes, of course I'm interested. Like, it's been a dream to reach tier 1, and like, fun story all the way back. It's like, I had a group of friends, and we played Counter-Strike first, and after that we went to play competitive Siege, but they quit very early on, and I was like, nah, I'm going to be making it. Like, I'm going to be persisting until I reach that top level. And I actually had a talk with them recently, and they were like, oh, we're so proud of, like, the actual fact that you managed to stick it out and make it to the point you are. But then back to the European League. Nerves, sort of, yes, I guess the first time we were on the camera. It was kind of that awkward phase with, like, when COVID just hit, because the minor we did from Croatia, but afterwards we haven't really been in the studio right away, so you still see the backdrop right behind me. It's just turned around now. It's the European League backdrop I got originally, so I've never gotten rid of that one. But yeah, it was a lot of excitement, and there was definitely some nerves involved, because like, it wasn't quite sure on who I would be working with, and it was like all new people, or a lot of new people that I had never worked with, and it's like, are we going to be friends? Are we not going to be friends? Like, I didn't know what to expect at that point. So yeah,
it's a fun one, because you obviously earned the right to be there. You got to work in EUL. First time I went to that studio, it was a bit like imposter syndrome. It was like, this is Hap and Ace sit on the seat, and it could go one or two ways. And unfortunately, I went the Ace way. My hairline started receding straight away. I could have kept the full luscious hair.
You could have had a beautiful hair, but
I could have started being able to grow facial hair too. I thought I might have been able to grow beard, but nope. I got the Ace curse. The hairline just started going whoop, straight away.
It might just be because you're from the UK. It's like,
yeah, maybe the Irish genes don't really work.
Maybe
but
it's just the island out there that is like, it's that happens with it. Gotta come to the mainland,
It's that miserable here. Even the hair doesn't want to be here. Like, it's that bad. But at that point, then, when you get to the top, something changes for talent. So when you're coming through grassroots, a lot of the time you're working with different people all the time. You'll work one broadcast with one person, the next with another. Once you get to tier 1, things really settle down. There's the real push on duos becomes a thing then, because for Ubisoft, it's all about having a really good relationship on broadcast between two casters and a lot of chemistry. You've got one of the most bubbly and lyrical duos in the world in Emmy. She is incredible at what she does. How much fun was it working with Emmy, and was that chemistry there from day one? Or is it something you two had to build?
I think it's funny how you started off that one, because I actually, on grassroots, have always worked with Toldersma, and the first season of European League, we didn't have duos actually. Like, we were rotating out because Ubisoft's like, we don't know what we want yet, we don't know what works. Like, like let's just see where the chemistry lies. So I worked with Gio, I worked with Dev, I worked with Jess, like, and for the first initial stage, Emmy wasn't even in the league yet. So like it certainly wasn't there from day one because Emmy wasn't there yet. And then for the online major, she got pulled in, and that's when we started to work more with duos. It's when the things started to get more solidified. And at the end of the year, that is, when like so the second stage that came through, that's when me and Emmy became a duo, and Dev and Gio became a duo. So that's when we started working together. I think we have a very fun contrast, as in Emmy, of course, is a degree in like movie film, so she has a lot of references, and I don't watch as many films. I don't get as many of the references. So often she's just making a reference. I'm like sitting there like, yeah, I know I should know this. I have no clue what you're talking about. She just gets mad at me. It's what happens. But but yeah, I'm just amazed by her lyrical skills. Something I don't as much envy, but more admire, like as a non-native speaker, like how she quickly comes up with all these words, and it's like I wish I could do that. It's very cool, but I'm more on the calm side of things, on the statistical and calm and collected side, indeed. So it's a nice contrast we have between each other.
It's one that works. You know, there's a lot of very good duos out there in the world right now, and some of them are play-by-play colors, some of them are, you know, really flex, like the Ace and Des one. But I just think you and Emmy really complement each other. I think, you know, she brings the lyrical, as you said, you've so much ingrained game knowledge, and you're able to bring that to the viewer as well. Recently, we got to see you guys working, you know, semi-finals in Berlin and stuff, and it's just so good to see the way you interacted with the crowd. In particular, we got to see Hap properly interacting with the crowd, which is something that I loved seeing personally. But I want to talk about working at the highest level then, because it is a lot of work. You know, you get to tier 1 broadcasting, all of a sudden it's your job. It's not necessarily a hobby or a side gig for a lot of people like it might be at the lower level, which means that you have to do a lot of work. And as you pointed out, a lot of travel. You're living out of a suitcase a lot of the time, which is something that I know Fresh doesn't like, and that might become even more of a problem now with the stage being shorter, because you don't really get set up in the hotel room like you might have done in the past. Are there times as a caster when you're like, you know, this is incredible, but it is a lot of work?
If I'm really honest, I don't think we get to complain. We are all people who have managed to turn their hobbies into their job, which not a lot of people are fortunate enough to be able to experience that. And once it is your hobby rather than your job, the work you put in isn't really work anymore. It's just what you do, right? Like I watch games for fun. I watch the esports. I listen to Intero and Nicholas and see what I can take away from their casting to improve into my own. I listen back to my own broadcasts not only to improve myself, but also to see if I missed anything during those games that would be beneficial to have later on. We don't get to complain about it being a lot of work, because fair enough, we maximum are on air for 60 days a year, maybe a little bit more. The rest we work on self-improvement, on preparing ourselves. People who work 9 to 5s, like they have that rhythm, which first of all we don't have, but it's like we can plan our own days, right? So if we don't want to do preparation for a week, we'll make up for it the next week. We're super flexible in like everything we have, and I'm very grateful for that. And I don't think I get to complain about my job, because I really love it and I want to do it as long as I can. So yeah,
that's the answer I wanted you to say, to be honest. You know, because to because to me it is the dream, and it's one of those things, you don't know how long your shelf life is in esports. I know for players it's very short, so you got to enjoy every single minute. I'm one of the people that are unlucky enough to have to balance working tier 1 leagues now and having a day job, and your personal life suffers. Your Sometimes it can be stressful, but at the end of the day, you're watching Siege. You get to wake up, watch Siege. You get to spend your day doing whatever it is. For me, it's my day job, but then in the evening, I get to talk about Siege. It's like,
yeah, that's it.
You can't complain. So
there's definitely no complaining from my side, and sure, like sometimes things are a bit rough in like scheduling and organization wise, but like at the end, you remember like I'm doing what I love. Like a lot of people would like to be in the position I'm in, and you just remember like how incredibly grateful you have to be that you've been given the opportunity for the hard work you've put in. So yeah.
And now, speaking of opportunities, somebody who I think everyone is happy to see who's made the jump to EUL is Anne. Anne came into the scene. She's been playing Siege a while, but came to the fore of the community over the last kind of 12 to 16 months is when most people really got to know Anne. She got to work some major events. She got to do Challenger League, and people really started to fall in love with her bubbly attitude, her hard work. I know the first thing Fresh said to me was, I think I've finally met someone who understands map bans better than I do, whenever he talked about Anne. As someone from the Netherlands, how happy does it make you seeing a colleague of yours in Anne make that jump up to EUL and be accepted by the community the way she has?
I mean, I've always been a big advocate of trying to get more people in from like other nationals, Benelux, but also of course the Nordics. They have some incredible English speakers, like trying to find talent out there that could be used for the broadcast. But with Anne, actually, it's quite funny because she was an up and coming streamer during Benelux season 4. So we invited her, like, hey, do you want to come over? Like, here's some tickets. You can come and check and see the finals. And it was me casting with Michael with Kicks. And Tollersma was on the desk with Milos, so there was like some Siege royalty out there as well. That's the actual first time I got to speak to Anne. And later on, when the Challenger League qualifiers were happening, I was doing one of those community casts, one of the more serious ones, not as scuffed as some of the dudes that get to 10 when there's like 10 people in the channel. And actually invited Anne over to like do the broadcast with me. Like, you want to try, give it a go? Like, you want to cast? I mean, you know how to talk. You're on stream all day. Like, you have the personal skills for it. So she did. And then when the talent call came out for the Benelux League, I was the intern at Ubisoft at that point. And she applied for it, and she was one of the best candidates. So that's why we went with her at that point. And ever since, like, I've seen her grow, seen her get better at the job she does, and I'm very happy for the fact that she has made it to, well, not only the 6 invitationals, but now in a more permanent like position in the European League rather than a guest analyst she has before. So she done that incredibly well. She grabbed every opportunity she had been given with both hands, and just reeled it in. So yeah, she can be very proud of the job she did and is doing.
No, I'm glad that Anne's doing well, because believe it or not, I think she was the second ever guest that I had on this podcast way back when I started it a year ago. It was Intero and Anne were my first 2 guests. But the thing that I do like about people like Anne, and I'm going to bring in 2 other people who finally got their more concrete tier 1 opportunity in Ollie and Demo as well. I worked Challenger League with those 2. And they were like dads for me and Whippet. Demo was there like, make sure your cable's always behind your back. Make sure you're doing this. Make sure you're doing that. They kept me and Whippet right. And it shows that they care, that they're helping people up. Because that's the thing, again, I find with a lot of people that I've dealt with in Siege at the top, they are always willing to outstretch their arms and help the people kind of grow up. Because I think the more competition you have, the better everybody gets. And I think Siege has a lot of very good talent coming through at the minute. So I want to move now to this season of EUL. So we spoke a lot about, your career getting here. We spoke about the talent.
Yeah.
It's a very new world. It's 2 groups. So in Europe, teams are only going to get to know a couple of teams very, very well, instead of in the past where you had a bigger season, more teams, more fixtures. With that being the case, and with a couple of play days down already, and some teams you maybe get the vibe are already in a bit of a troublesome spot because they've lost the opening 2 play days. Are there any teams that have really surprised you with the way they've started the season in EUL, and you think maybe there's a chance that they could be vying for a major?
First of all, with like the shorter best of one phase, it's like a little bit less of an opportunity to get these kind like 4% comeback stories to happen that G2 had. I'm also a big fan of the best of 3 format that's now in it, because before we had teams show up to a major never having played a best of 3 before. Certainly having to perform on that. So I think the overall quality is definitely going to go up over the year. Just looking at what happened last week, I think we can say that Heroic definitely surprised many. I don't think that a lot of people were expecting them to come out of the gate swinging with the two victories after everybody was expecting them to have like the big pickups last season, and they weren't able to do what the community expected them to do. But they've made work, really good work, by the way. And this is not to talk down on any of the players picked up, right? Because in my opinion, you don't need 5-star players on a team to be successful. Like, you need 5 players with the same motivation and same goal. That's how you reach success. But I think Heroic have been coming out swinging right here with the 5 players they currently have, and if they continue to work with the way they're going, they are definitely going to be at the major. I think same goes for Wild. They are new to the scene. They weren't originally there. They've managed to grab a spot and bring their revised roster over as well. And that's always a bit like, okay, now we're truly going to be seeing how these guys will be going at, right? Like, are they indeed as good as we think they are from what we've seen from external tournaments? Because now it's tier 1. Now everybody's fighting with like everything they have to make sure they get a major spot. But yeah, they also managed to get those 2 wins in. So definitely a force to be reckoned with, I think.
I think the main thing with those 2 rosters, with all the change that they both went through, because realistically, Wild went through massive change. Aces is kind of the only holdover that they have, is they've still got their identity. Heroic still have that identity that they had last year. They're a structured team. They know exactly their jobs and how to do them. That's something Mr. Officer's drilled in. Wild are still a wild card, though. Zeus's style of coaching, we were wondering, was this a Corey thing? Was it just a mix of Corey, Aces, Kaneo last year? Nope, it's Zeus. They're still playing wacky Siege, and it works. Whether it'll work in a best of 3 format, it's still to be seen. We've seen issues like that in the past with teams like CAG, where on a best of 1, they can blitz someone, but in a best of 3, it gets a little bit more difficult because you can only really surprise a team once. So I want to see if they can continue that success. But for me, I like that Wild seems to finally be a place that a lot of these players who've been journeymen, they've moved from team to team, and they've finally arrived somewhere that I think that they can show what they really are capable of. But then we've got a couple of issues with other teams, right? Because you've got BDS, former major champions, not being a great start for them. G2 won SI. They had a good Playday 1, but again, they lost a surprise game to VP on the second Playday. Koi as well. They have not had the smoothest start as well. Are these post-SI hangovers that we're seeing, Hap? Or do you think that there is maybe a bit of an issue going into the stage? Because it's a tough question, because a lot of teams in the past do have hangovers after major events.
It is definitely a difficult question to answer. I am not in like a team, so it's hard for me to say what exactly is going on in there. Like, it could just be that the other teams, they've had their opportunity to prepare themselves well. They didn't have to play aside. They had an extra month where they could just focus on the European League, where maybe that's why they come out better, right? The other teams have just gone through, well, one of them winning the World Championships. They've gone on a little bit of a break after that. You need a holiday. You cannot just keep going without ever having to stop. So that might have affected them as well. Also, when you're at the top, everybody's looking to beat you down. You mentioned Koi, BDS, and G2. That is the top of Europe, right? Like, those are the 3 teams people will be looking to beat. And that might just give extra motivation to those playing against you. Not only to prepare better against you, but also just to give that little bit extra but again, I'm unsure on how exactly to answer the question because I'm not inside of any of the teams, so I cannot really say like exactly like what the reason is for that bit of a slump that keeps happening every single time a team wins the major or, well, seemingly does okay at an international event.
And it's not just a European phenomena. You know, you look globally, DZ had that problem, SSG,
Yeah.
TSM, just see, you know, even NIP to an extent, teams that tend to do really well. Like, part of it is too, there's a lot more tape on them. You know, if you win an event, you're going to show a lot because you're showing more maps, you're showing more strats, you're using a lot of your emotional energy as well. So I think you do give away a little bit more. Here's where I'm going to ask you a fun question. So
Right.
you get to cast EUL at the highest level. You've seen a lot of these players grow. I want you to pick a team of 5 players that you love watching, but only one from any team. So you're not allowed to pick more than one player from one team.
Only one from any team.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to start off with Big ET with Deepak, of course. I've competed against him back in the day. Deepak, of course, Dutch pride in that. So that's one. I think he's an incredible player, especially in what he does with his echo drones. I mean, if we then go over to G2, I think I'm gonna go for Benjamaster rather than Doki. He's been doing very well. I mean, he broke the records during the SI finals. Like, there's nothing more you can say about that. So that's a solid second player, I think. I mean, can you really make a roster like a all-star roster without having Shaiko in there as well? So that could be a third player. We only need 2 more. We're getting there. It's difficult. Like, the first 3 are very well doable, but so I don't want to go on just keep on getting more fraggers into the roster. It's like we've seen how that worked for G2 in the past. That doesn't really work out. Shepard, I think, like, a lot of history behind him. I think he's a very solid player as well if you give him the right circumstances to work within. So I would have to go for him. And we need one more. We're going for. A lot of teams already locked off there. I think P4 for a bit of that flank. You know what I mean? It's like just on the bit of the lurk. Can't go for Citizen anymore because he left now. So gonna go for a different lurker. P4. Yeah, that's it.
We got P4. We got Shepard, Benja, Big ET, and who am I missing? Shaiko. See, when I've asked other players, they were like tossed. They were like, "Do you want to take Shaiko for the gunner, or do you want to take Brede for the brains?" Because, you know, Brede is a brilliant player as well. So it's a fun one to ask. But now I want to step away from the world of work because, you know, we spoke a lot about Siege. I want to get to know you a bit better. So for the viewers at home, when you're not working, when you're not watching Siege, how do you decompress? You know, what are your hobbies? What are your interests? What does Hapers Stijn like to do?
First of all, annoy my girlfriend as much as I can when I'm here.
Same.
So, just go and annoy her or like distract her. Not too much. She has to work as well. So, but besides that, I mean, gaming is obviously a big part in my life. I mean, I was a gamer and I somehow made it my job. So I'm still doing that. I'm playing a lot of Destiny too. I've like Emmy basically like set up like a group of like friends she had but never really had like a clan to play with, so we kind of turned that into a clan, and you know we started raiding together and we started handing out tips. I don't know if you're aware with the fact, but there was a new raid that came out on contest mode. We did it in 12 hours 22 minutes. We started 6:30 p.m. local and we ended 7 a.m. in the morning. I was happy my parents were not home because there was a lot of screaming in between. But besides that, I'm like a milsim unit. I go airsofting every now and then. Get to the movies, just like to have a nice dinner somewhere, you know, like good food. My dogs, it's just those simple average person kind of hobbies, I guess. You know, it's yeah, that's really it. I
So
like to go to the cinemas. I like to, hang out with my dog or like do that stuff. Go out for food, airsofting, spend time with family and friends, also good. So
so
yeah, nothing really out of the ordinary.
so a couple of those things I want to ask you a couple more questions on. Then the dogs first off, because look, I'm a dog lover. Simple as
Yes.
that. Whenever I spoke with Nico from Blast, we ended up talking for 10 minutes about his dogs because
Of course,
I
yes.
just love them. Tell me about your dog. What breed of dog do you have, and does it one? Do you have two? Tell me a bit more.
We have 2 dogs. We used to have 3 back at home, but because first of all, I'm way more like it's just 2 now, so we're not picking up a third. So I have a golden retriever. I really wanted a golden retriever like my entire life, and the reason for that is I was a big fan of the Air Bud movies. I don't know if you know them, but it's like, but he's named after he's Buddy. That's his name. I trained him myself, like through puppy school and all that kind of stuff. So he still listens the best to me, and every single time I come home from an event casting, he's just like so happy and wants to lay on my lap and doesn't want me to leave for like the next 5 hours. He's like a typical golden retriever, right? Like he just grabs shoes or bags and everything and just steals them and runs around with them. He's a very good boy. And the second one is a long-haired Jack Russell. I think Duracell can have a new mascot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should pick up my dog for that because honestly, the guy can run for like 8 hours, 10 hours straight, and he's still not tired. Don't know how he does it. But it's like you cannot wear him out. He just keeps going. I don't know what it is. It's like you let him outside and he's running around with a ball, and you come back 2 hours later, he's still running around with that ball, still the same thing. And like you come back 2 hours later after that, he's still running. Like you cannot tire him out. So that's his personality, just active almost all the time. So yeah, that's my 2 dogs.
Yeah, 2 energetic breeds too, though. The golden retrievers, they have a lot of
the
energy.
golden retriever is very, very, very like he's not that energetic anymore. He's 8 years old now, so he's just normally like it's just chilling, and every now and then he picks a fight with the Jack Russell just to show him who's boss, I guess. But it's a play fight. Yeah,
I was the same as you. I had 3 dogs. I had 2 Irish red setters and a long-haired Jack Russell as well. The long-haired Jack Russell passed away lately. That's one of the sad things about pet ownership. But he was the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I would get home from work, and he would run about 25 laps of the house in excitement that I was home. And you're going, I'm right here.
Like, I just want to pet you, but like, that's exactly what ours does as well. Like, I come home, the golden retriever comes like, oh yes, pet me, and the Jack Russell just keeps running, and then he gets mad, he doesn't get attention. But I'm like, I cannot reach you. You're running so quick.
It's just they're so excited.
They are very excited. Tons of energy.
We love pets of all types. I'm a dog person. I like cats too, but dogs are what I've always had growing up. Shout out to all the cat lovers out there too. I know Leon and Tristan have a couple of lovely cats in their homes. But another thing you touched on was military sim. So is it more so airsoft and paintball, or is it kind of military sim gaming as well? Like, is there a mix between the two?
It's a mix between the two. So I'm in a squad unit. It's a PvP One Life event that we basically play every now and then. So that's what I do. Like have a timetable for. In airsoft, I basically go like whenever I don't have anything planned with like friends, either online or offline. So it's like, I have a free evening. I guess like let me see which field has an event tonight, and I'll just go over there and then go at it. So it's more so an online mil sim rather than being part of an airsoft one, because I usually just go alone when I'm airsofting. Yeah.
That's how I got into PC gaming in the first place, was Arma.
By airsoft?
Well, Arma.
Arma. Okay,
if you remember the old milsim days of guys like Frankie on PC putting up videos, and that's what got me into PC gaming.
I love playing Daisy, original, like Arma 2 Operation Arrowhead. It's I think I still have most hours on that game compared to any game besides Siege. I have more hours in Siege than anything else, but after that, it is definitely Arma 2 Operation Arrowhead.
The stress of having to log off and hope that all your stuff was still there in the morning because people used to raid bases.
We had a group, a clan, and we were people from all over the world, so we always had someone online, right? So it's like we were not as stressed going offline, but sometimes the group chat would just go off like, we're being attacked, everybody get online. But yeah, no, it's I didn't have that stress that much, but it was
Mm-hmm.
that was fun times in gaming, I have to say. Like one of my fondest memory come over from Arma 2 Operation
Mm-hmm.
Arrowhead DayZ mods. So yeah.
And that was kind of the dawn of a whole genre of gaming. You know, you had that, and then that evolved into what BRs are, because I believe they kind of started with Minecraft and Arma 2. I think were the first two that kind of brought in the BR genre too.
Yeah.
The milsim stuff, then the airsoft side of things. I know a lot of people that are into it. They absolutely adore it. Have you ever done any of the really hardcore events? Because I know people who've played events where it's like 3-4 days, like where you're
Yeah.
properly in the wilderness, and you'll have people playing the role of a sniper and they will not move for 12 hours. Is that, have you gotten to that level yet, or are you still just in the more
I
let's
haven't,
have fun?
because every single time that happened, it was first of all like clashing with some work, because I'm a freelancer. I have to take whatever work I can get. I cannot just be like, you know what, this entire month I'm not going to be working, because you know how it works. So I haven't done that yet. I've definitely been in talks with people from my online milsim unit, with like people from Germany, UK, but also the US, who want to go over and do that thing that they have in, I believe it's Norway, where it's like 2-3 days in a weekend where you do airsoft, like an airsoft operation or something like that. But I'm not as hardcore as a lot of the people are. Like I have just a single rifle, a single pistol, and a vest. Like that's it, right? It's like I'm not as invested in it as many others are. I'm a pretty casual airsofter, I had to say.
So
If they are even such things as a casual airsofter.
what you're saying though is we need to organize a siege talent paintball day or airsoft day at some point. Is that what you're saying?
I'm all okay with that. If we want to go out and then do like a siege airsoft day, I'm up for it. I'll join.
Yeah.
Totally will.
Get
If I like get the gear over there, because shipping that is a pain for sure. So yeah.
make a paintball and get someone to cast it. There you go. Get everybody in a field and see if we're any better.
Everybody
that way.
wears body cams and we stream it that way. So you could just like have an actual observer swap the body cams instead of
John
having
Ubisoft,
overhead
make
view.
it happen. John Ubisoft, get on the buzzer. I'd be down anyway. I know that one. And the last thing I want to talk about, when you spoke about things you like to do, you said you like to annoy your partner. You like to annoy. How important is it for you to have a partner? Because I've had the chance of meeting her as well, who supports you the way she does. Like she genuinely loves what you do. She loves the community. You've got that back in. How much does it mean to you to know that she is there for you and she kind of is that rock?
I mean, it's incredibly important to have someone that supports you in whatever you do. Because if the person you love most does not support you in the job you'd like to go for, it's a very difficult choice to make at that point, right? Do I follow my dream, or like do I follow the person I love, right? So I'm very happy with Charlotte, or Lotte, as I call her, and like how energetic she is for first of all my job, but also the scene itself. Like she's invested. She's a massive Wolves fan. And she was heartbroken when the changes were announced. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like I wish I could do anything, but yeah, no, it is a massive help. And every single time I just want to discuss something, she's there for me, if it's regarding work, because she knows how important it is to me. But not just that, like I'm incredibly lucky to have met her and to be with her right now. So yeah,
she's really, really nice girl. And you weren't there, but when we met her at the major, because I think you were getting ready to go on stage.
Was it Berlin or
in Charlotte the first time? So we met
Charlotte.
her.
Okay,
Remember Whippet signed. She had us all sign her arm.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah. So I was like, okay.
She was so excited to see you casting live. Like I remember she was talking to me and Whippet, and she was like, she could not wait to see you and Emmy up on stage. Like it's wholesome.
It might be a bad thing. I think she's more nervous for me going up to cast than I am. Like I'm just like I'm in my zone, right? It's like I don't want to say I'm a top athlete because I'm not. But it's like how they just get in their zone. That like they're in their focus. Like when I'm going for a cast, I'm like in my focus. Like I'm there's no nerves anymore. It's just excitement, wanting to get going, like wanting to interact with that crowd, which for a long time we weren't able to do, but luckily we've been able to do like these past 4 events. I think she's more nervous like about me getting on stage than I am, because as soon as I'm there, like as soon as I'm in the venue with like my suit on, like I'm already in that zone. Like I'm into focus. There's nothing that will rock me out of it.
Once that tie gets to here, it's business time. Hap's ready to go. So I think that kind of runs us to near the very end. There's just one more little thing that I wanna talk to you about, and it's for new people getting into the scene. So whether it's a new player because you've been there, or new talent, observers, analysts, hosts.
Yeah.
You've been in the scene a long time. You've elevated yourself to the top of the game. What advice would you give to a new caster coming through? Even if it was to think about giving the advice to yourself, even if you could talk to yourself a couple of years ago, what advice would you give?
First of all, I mean, this is different for everybody, right? But I did not drop out of college. I did not drop out of uni. I was able to finish my degree in Paris last year. I've gone 2 years of delay, but that's fine. Like I never stopped. In my opinion, you wanna make sure you have that backup, right? So yes, if you want to go for it, totally go for it. But don't just like throw everything aside. Like don't drop out of uni, don't drop out of college. Try and like extend as much as you can. So it's important to have that backup. Not only because esports isn't forever, right? Like I've been doing this for 5 years now, of which for 3/4 years I've been doing it like as my only job. But there's going to be a day where that runs out. There's going to be a day where I'm going to settle with Charlotte, and I'm going to be like having to go for a different job to pay for a mortgage, or save up for some other stuff. Just have more stability. That just gets a lot easier if you have that experience in college. But not only that, but also like being in there gives you people skills as well. Like you're working together with fellow students, with your teachers, with more companies, depending on what kind of study you have. And I think that kind of knowledge is very important to have. That's just one of the points, one of the tips I'm going to give. Oh, there's so much to talk about here, Gibson. Second of all, networking, but in a good way. Don't try and just slime yourself up, because people will notice that, and people will be not fully on board with it. Rather, it's like, and you probably know, if someone's trying to slime up to you, it's like, I'm not really feeling the vibe. Just be who you are, right? Like try and be friendly, try and be yourself to people, and see if you can you can build up a network from there on, because networking is incredibly important. Like who knows if an opportunity might pop up, and because you have been yourself, you have been that nice person to caster X, and like opportunity, like an opportunity comes up, it's like, oh well, we need one more. I know this guy might be worth giving him a shot. That's sometimes how you get your breakthrough. It's not always just working yourself up the tiers. Sometimes it's just like, if you were a good enough person and you have the skills, you might be recommended for it, and boom, you're in. It's an important thing. Networking, honestly, in esports is often overlooked. And this is a tip I would have to give myself, because I'm not doing it. I don't think I'm the right person for it. For some reason, stream, have a TikTok or YouTube or an Instagram where you upload regular content for the people that watch you, that follow you. I'm not really a person like I don't like social media as much. It feels like a second job, and it's part of it is an extra job. We need to keep up with it, so I do it to some extent, but I'm not like as active on it as others. Like I have massive respect for Fresh, for example, who's been able to last year co-stream almost every single thing, have his TikTok up, have his Instagram up, all that kind of stuff. And he got partner on Twitch for it. He got rewarded for what he did there. And I have massive respects for that, because I would not be able to do that to the extent he did. But it is a very important part of the job, just being visible, being out there, have people recognize you from, oh, that's the guy that make those TikToks about how to get better at Siege, or hey, that's that guy that breaks down videos on YouTube on how these pro players play, and how you can get better on the back of that. So branch out. Don't just focus on your casting or your analysis or on your playing. Make a name for yourself, because being able to be sold sold internally, as in like it's easy to put you on a broadcast and have people like realize, oh yeah, that's a good choice. Is worth so much more than a lot of people realize. And I should do it more, but I have no clue or no like energy to go fully into that. I'm trying it my best, but I would actually have to find someone to help me with that stuff because I'm not a marketer or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's the social media side of things is tough. I struggle with it sometimes as well, to be honest, but I do my best. You know, the podcast is kind of my way to build that content. But
it's an incredible way. Yeah,
it's been fun. I get to know people. I get to tell people stories. It's something that I enjoy doing. But I think that kind of brings us to the end of the interview. First thing I want to say is you spoke about socials. Well, if you haven't already, guys, at @Hap_R6 is his Twitter. If you want to keep up to date with everything he's getting up to, I think between that and the official Rainbow Six Twitter and the Rainbow Six EU is your best way of keeping up to date on where and when you can find Hap. If you've enjoyed,
I also have an Instagram, but that name is way more difficult.
Oh. Is it your Dutch name?
It's my Dutch name, yeah. So people don't know how to pronounce my first name.
Is it Stijn?
It's been butchered. So yeah, it's Stijn. So you actually say it well, but I've heard Stijn or Stingy, all that kind of stuff. So it's no, that's it's a pain, but it's pinned in my Twitter, so you can find it there.
There you go. So get him on Instagram and Twitter. If you've enjoyed the podcast, this episode, make sure to give it a like and subscribe on YouTube or on Spotify, wherever it is you're catching this media. But Hap, any last words before we wrap up?
Oh, any last words? I'm very excited for what the new season has to bring. I think everybody should be, because it's going to be a new era in Siege. So make sure that you keep up to date with it. But don't forget to, well, first of all, just enjoy yourselves and live in the moment. I think that's very important. And sometimes a lot of people forget that. So just look around you and speak to those close to you. It's important.
Thanks, Hap. You've been a phenomenal guest. And thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.